Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Okay, today I will talk about the overview of apple and pear industry and the cultural techniques in China. Can you see my presentation and hear my voice?
Yes, it's okay. We can hear you and we can see your presentations.
Okay, thank you. Okay, firstly, I will talk about the basic orientation of apple industry in China. And in the apple, I think in China, the apple and pear achieved a sufficient supply. In the 2020, the apple area harvested in China was 1.93 million hectare, and the production was the 44 million tons, about account for the 50% of total area harvested and production in the world. So if we select two apples in the world, maybe one is produced in China. And for pear, in the 2020, the pear area harvested in China was 0.9 million hectare, and the production was 17 million tons, account for the 70% of the total area harvested and production in the world. But for the population, the China's population is about 18.41% of the total world population. So with the 50% apple and 70% pear of the world to supply the 18% of the world population, which has achieved sufficient supply. But in China, I think the many people and the pear, the fruit quality is not very good. Maybe most of the lower quality. So most of the apple and pear must supply the very, very small market, and maybe in a small car, and maybe in the small market, maybe in the farm market. So we very, very less some high quality fruit, and some special fruit is very less. So I think in China, we must supply some special and high quality fruit. So in China, the planted area of early mid-maturing variety is very less, about 15%. But the price of the important fruit and the batik fruit and the special fruit, its price is higher and higher. But in China, the fruit is not so many. But this fruit is fixed on the higher and higher market and higher consumer group. And the apple and the pear import volume is increased year by year. In the 2021, the apple import volume of China was about 68,000 tons, and the pear import volume of China was about 10,000 tons. So in apple produce many apple and fruit, but we must need to import many high quality apple and pear from other countries. And this year's competitive fruit increased rapidly. In these years, many South China fruit like the wax apple, pitaya, and the avocado and the passion fruit. This special fruit and go to the Chinese market, and maybe this special market will compete the apple and the pear market. Because I think for a person, he eat the special fruit, but he not so many stomach to eat the apple and pear. So, and for these years, the consumer groups changed greatly. In China, maybe the proportion of the millennials consumer was about 50%. What is the millennials? And the Nielsen media research has defined the millennials as between the 21 and 37 years old. This group has become the consumer main part of the Apple of the Chinese market. So for these peoples, maybe they focus on the fashion and the individuality, definite special habit. So maybe these peoples all the care about the brands and the quality. They may like to buy some high quality fruit. And for these peoples very like the social networking, because it's a young people. So maybe they very like to online social networking. They like to buy fruit from the WeChat, live broadcast and video, but maybe very less to go to the supermarket. And for these years, the China's labor force is aging, and the rural population is aging seriously, and the proportion of farmers over 60 years old is increasing, and the proportion of people over over the 60 years old in the total population has increased 20%. And the number of agricultural labor force is getting smaller and smaller. The proportion of the agricultural labor force about 20%, include half female agricultural labor force, because for these years, young people go to the city to do the other work. They don't like work in the land, and also don't like work in the orchard. So in the urban, in the rural, maybe only leave the old peoples, female peoples, and some children. And the other situation is in China, the production cost continue to rise. For this year's, the total production cost per mu is about the 8,000 yuan, and the labor cost is about the 4,000 or 5,000 yuan, accounting for more than 50%. So for these years, the labor cost is increasing. The materials is increasing, like the fertilizer. This year's its price continued to rise very rapidly, and all the land rent and all the stimulation cost is very increased very rapidly. And the other is the constraints on the resources and the environment are intensifying, and the natural disasters occurred frequently. For these years, extensive consumption of the resources, more and more people, less land and less water, and the use of the input of the unreasonable, and the utilization rate is very lower. The soil acidification and the salinization are intensified, and the sustainable production capacity of the soil is reduced. So the low temperature, frost, hail, drought, flood, and other natural disasters occurred frequently. The other situation is the fundamental changes has taken place in the mode of production. So it's transforming the traditional agriculture into the modern agriculture. For this picture is the traditional orchard in China, and for these years, maybe the fruit industry has changed into traditional production, extensive management, and low benefit production to the competitive modern production, from the labor-intensive industry to the technology-intensive and capital-intensive industry. For this year, for this picture, you can see this is the old orchard, and for these years, maybe this modern orchard is more and more, many farmers and for use this modern industry. And for these years, major revolution has taken place in the way of operation. And because in China, all the orchard is belong to one family, and each household has changed to the large scale operation. And the mode of operation has changed from the original mode of operation of one family to a new type of operation subject, such as the organized and systematic cooperative family farmers and the enterprises, and the blind and the passive small-scale production of thousands of household has become purposeful and active large-scale production. The second part, I will talk about the main problems in China's apple and pear industry. The first one is the variety ratio and the structure are not reasonable enough. In China, the main planting variety is too single. For the apple, Fuji variety occupied over the 72% in total area and yield, and other varieties with production exceeding 1% of total output, only red delicious, gala, golden delicious, and John Gold, and other varieties. And for the pear, the Suli variety occupied over the 48% in the yield. There are about 400 varieties bred by China, but their production only account for 10%. There are too many late maturing varieties, and there are fewer early and medium maturing varieties. And the other is the poor quality of the seedlings, lack of the virus seedlings. The planting density of traditional seedlings is about per hectare over the 10,000 seedlings. And the proportion of virus-free seedlings is less than 2%. So the varieties and the rootstock are confusing, and the propagation system is imperfect. And the other questions is the planting system is the backward. Over the 70% in the total production area are the vigorous rootstock. So the tree for this the first pictures you can see many tree canopy. Canopy is tall and big, and the orchard management very difficult, and not suitable for the automatic manufacturing. So the planting area of the developing rootstock apple trees is about 220,000 hectares, which account for the 10% of total apple area. So in China, maybe the tree system has the vigorous rootstock, and most of the vigorous rootstock, and some is the self-rooted rootstock, and some are interstem rootstock. The other questions is the flower and the fruit management techniques is very complicated. So the 77% of orchard is still thinning flower and fruit by the hand, and the labor cost per hectare for this process is about renminbi 1,000 and 1,200 yuan. And the proportion of fruit bagging is very high. So this picture is the fruit bagging. For the apple, I think the more than 90% of the orchard is with the fruit bagging, and most about the 1,000% in Shandong, and over the 90% in the Shanxi province, and the other between the 55% and 85%. The cost of fruit bag, the labor cost of bagging, and the bag picking are the 70 and 7,080 renminbi yuan, and account for about the 40% of the total investment in the orchard. For in China, most cost is with the flower thinning, bagging, picking fruit. This process cost is very high. And the management of water and nutrient applied the flood irrigation and empirical the fertilization. So most orchard applied the flood irrigation, and the proportion of water-saving irrigation orchard is less than 13%. So the altered fertilization mainly applied the empirical fertilization, and the fertilizer utilization rate is very lower, and the utilization rate of nitrogen fertilizer is about 30% and 35%. And the phosphate fertilizer is about 10% and 50%. And the potassium fertilizer, the utilization rate is about the 50% and 70%. So in China also there's a level the commercial processing. The apple and the pear of the post-harvest commercialization account for about 9% of the total apple. So most of the orchard carry out grading, packing, and marketing directly in the field. So most storage enterprises do not have the pre-cooling, curing, washing, and grading equipment, and the cold chain system of the transportation and the storing is not perfect, and the bread awareness is not strong, and the bread effects are insufficient. Okay, thirdly, I will talk about how to select a good variety. And four, I think in China, maybe the variety selection will maybe become the very diversification. So maybe for color and for these years, the apple varieties might be select some yellow one, red one, and the green one. So for the consumer, maybe some people like the yellow one, some people like the red one, and some people like this green one. So I think we select a variety, we must maybe select different color fruit to plant. And the other is the flavor. I think so different peoples, maybe someone like this tart, the tart variety, like this Granny Smith. Maybe someone like Fuji. Fuji is a very sweet fruit. So we can, according to the consumer, like the flavor, we can select some Granny Smith, Pink Lady, Brabant, Jeez, Opal, Racket, Gala, and Fuji. For this fruit, this is the most tart variety. This is a sweet fruit. So maybe this varieties is between these two varieties. And maybe some people like this very big fruits. This varieties is Hanfu. Hanfu is apple varieties bred by the Chinese people, and this is the rocket. Rocket is apple variety from the New Zealand. Maybe someone like a big one, maybe someone like a smaller one. And for we can select different textures. Maybe this is the cosmic crisp. The cosmic crisp is the apple variety in the United States, and its firmness is very hard. And but for this one is the Fuji apple, and the Fuji apple we can pick it after December. Maybe this its firmness will become very soft. For maybe for the children and the old persons, maybe we like this very soft fruit. So I think maybe we select apple varieties. Maybe we can accessing the different apple trend. maybe we can select different texture, different sweetness, different longevity, and different disease resistance, and different ripeness, different freshness, and different acidity. Okay, and I will introduce some new apple variety. The first one is the Cosmic Crisp. This Cosmic Crisp is the bred by the Washington State University in the United States, and its parent is the Enterprise and Honey Crisp. Its development for over 20 years, and it have a very perfectly balanced flavor, crisp texture, firmness, juiciness, and striking color. The next one is Envy. Envy is bred by the Horticulture and Food Research Institute in New Zealand, and it's a cross between the Royal Gala and the Bourbon apples. It is very sweet and balanced with a slight tanginess mixed with the faint fruity, vegetal, and floral notes. The third one is the Posy. Posy apple, its parents are the New Zealand Rose and Royal Gala. And this fruit size is medium. It's about 60 and 65 millimeter, and per fruit weight is about 120, 150 grams. But it's very sweetness. Its sweetness over the 14. So it have a very delicate pink and have a bright red color and have a honey flavor with the hint of rock melon and peach. Because these varieties, the Chinese people import from New Zealand is about the March 8, and the March 8 in China is a women's festival. Because the women's is very like this pink package, so it's very popular in the China's market. And this variety is the rocket. Rocket is it is mixed between a Gala and a Gala spider apple in the New Zealand. This apple variety is very smaller. So its diameter is about the 5 and 7 centimeter. And per fruit weight is about 18 and 80 grams. So it is crisp and sweet. Because it's like a snap size, so it's very popular in the children. Many kids is like this variety. And it is have a equal narrow packaging tube format. So it's many people like this package. It's a very special package. And this variety is very popular in China. For these years, it is brand from the Golden Delicious apple. It is a natural seedlings from Golden Delicious apple. And so its color is the golden yellow appearance. And its rich flavor, sweet and crisp taste. And its highest sugar content is can reach the 21% and 22%. It is a very sweet variety. So in China, it's very popular. And this varieties is a cross from the orange. The orange variety is a cross from the golden delicious by Indo of Japan, and its fruit is a yellow-green, is with a large fruit point. Its fruit point is very large and have a fragrant beauty, crisp and juicy. It is a sweet and fragrant. So these orange varieties is plant many years in China, but I think it is popular only for these 10 years. And this one is the Toki. The Toki is a cross between the Japanese Fuji and the orange. And the peel is slightly pink with a single fruit which is about 250 grams. It's juicy, attractive aroma, and weak acidity and strong sweetness. For these years, it also plant more in China. Also, then I will talk about some pear variety. The first one is Pichabo. Pichabo is bred by the New Zealand. Is this year's with in China import many Pichabo fruit from the New Zealand. This appearance is brightly red, and the meat is thin and the crisp. And the price for 2 pieces is about 79.8 yuan. For the 32 pieces, about the 899 yuan. It's very its price is very higher. And the second is Yunnan Caiyunhong red pear. This is produced by the Yunnan province. Yunnan province is the west source of China, and it has a sunny side and about 60% colored, and it's solid and sugar soluble content is about 50% and 60%. And two fruit of this box is about 59.9 yuan. It's also a good price. And the second variety is the Japanese 秋月 pear. 秋月 pear, it have a light yellowish brown and thin peel and juicy and sweet, very refreshing, and its price is also good, about 500 grams is about 29.9 yuan. And the other one is the Peckham pears. Peckham pears in China is also named the ugly pear. Ugly pear in these years in the Shandong province, Weihai plant many. So it is a big one and looks very ugly. So, but its skin is very thin and a small core and the sweet meat, soft and glutinous. So this one fruit, maybe its price is 15 yuan. So it's also have a good price. But I think for these years, for Chinese researchers, we must accelerate the breeding and extension of the apple varieties. So maybe in China, the breeding objectives should be based on the quality breeding. We must to select some good qualities and characteristic breeding. Maybe we focused on the different size, different color, different flavor, and different functions. So maybe I think we must take into account excellent cultivation performance. Maybe we select some source efficient variety selection and suggesting the breeding cereals and breeding technology innovation. So I think we must stressing the cooperation in breeding, cultivation, plant protection, storage, and processing, and form a new sporting production technology system of new variety and accelerate the extension and application. So I will introduce some new varieties from China. These three fruit is bred by the Northwest Agriculture and Forest University in China. And this one is Ruiyang. Ruiyang, it's bred by the Qingguan and Fuji. So Qingguan is old apple variety bred by China, and his father is Fuji. And this two fruit is also bred by the Qingfu #1 and Pink Lady. But this is a green one, and this is the red one. And for this is the fruit is very long and looks very nice. These two pictures is also bred by the Northwest Agriculture and Forest University. Is Qingcui and Qingmi. For Qingcui is bred by the Changfu #2. Changfu #2 is a good variety of selected by Fuji, and his father is Honeycrisp. And this fruit bred by the Qingguan and Honeycrisp. Honeycrisp is bred by the United States. It's a very, very good variety. And this pictures is bred by the Shandong Research Institute of Pomology. Its name is Lu Li. Lu Li. Lu Li is early maturing variety, and its parent is Tanmu #1 and Gela. It's a very early variety. And the other early maturing variety is Huashuo. Huashuo is bred by the Zhengzhou Research Institute of Pomology, CAS, and it's also an early maturing variety. And this fruit is planted in the Xizang in China. It's a very, very good color and very, very good quality. And these three fruit is bred by the Qingdao Agricultural University, Fuli, Fuxing, and Fujiuhong. And this Fuli is by the Tanmu, Tlamer, and Fuji. And this parent is New World and Pink Lady. And this also the New World and Pink Lady. So then I will talk about some new pear varieties. This one is Yuluxiang. Yuluxiang pear. Yuluxiang pear is very popular these years in China, and it's the peel is very thin and very, very sweet and juicy and crisp. So it is its parents is 库尔勒香梨 and 雪花梨. 库尔勒 for its mother is 库尔勒香梨. For in China, 库尔勒 is in the Xinjiang province in China, and this his mother is also very, very good quality. And the other one is 皇冠. 皇冠 is bred by the Shijiazhuang Research Institute of Pomology in Hebei province. And its parents is 雪花梨 and Saisike, its parents. So it's also popular in China. So for these years, I think we must research on the efficient utilization technology of light and fertilizer, water, and soil. So I think we must establishing the screening and evaluation standard system of stock size combination suitable for different ecological regions, and also studied on the formation and the distribution of higher photosynthesis efficiency products, and also regulation technology, the labor-saving tree management technology suitable with the different regions. And we must requirement and transportation rules of man and interaction mechanism and control technology of different nutrients and flood management techniques of orchard, fertilizations, strategy for the different regions and the different type of orchard. So I think for the modern technique of apple orchard, we must select the dwarfing rootstock. I think the dwarfing rootstock is the basis of the modern apple orchard, because the dwarfing rootstocks can the earliness of the cropping, it have a precocity, and also have the amount of the yield and the tree is very, very big. So it's productivity. And also he can control the size of the tree for the, if we use the dwarfing rootstock, and its dwarfing levels is very good. So for these pictures, is the apple rootstock by different tree size. For this one, if we use the mark and the benign, its trees is very, very smallest. Maybe its tree size only the 15% and 50% of the size of the seedlings. And the second is the M9 T337, and also the Geneva series is from the Cornell University in the United States, G11, G41, and maybe the M9 PGM2, Allen Nick 29. This all different apple rootstocks. Its tree size is different. For the B118, maybe it's very, very big. And the M20, M26, and maybe this tree is medium. So, and all these years, we maybe focused on the fire blight resistant rootstock, like this G11, G16, G202, G222, G969, and maybe also we select some replant tolerate apple rootstock, like this G30, G41, G210. Okay, we also maybe select some woody apple aphid resistant, like G41, G210, and G214. Okay, these pictures is pear rootstock by tree, different tree size. This for this one is tree size less than 20%, 40%, and for this years maybe the Fox series and the OH F series is very popular in the European and the United States, very popular. But in China, most orchard we also use the seedlings, so the trees is very big. So then I will talk about some apple orchard system. I think for these years, maybe the apple orchard from the 4-dimensional to the 3-dimensional and to the 2-dimensional. The tree become more smaller and smaller, and the canopy become narrow and narrow, and the plant density become more higher and higher. So I think for these years, I think the tree canopy become to the 3-dimensional, go to the 2-dimensional tree size. So I think I will talk about some tree shape. So the first one is torus window. Torus window is a very popular tree shape in the world. Maybe in the United States, in Italy, in New Zealand, and also many orchards use this torus window. Torus window is have a special characteristic, and each trunk is very stronger. So and have many feather. These feather branches is maybe its angle is less than 90 degree. So I think this main trunk and have many 8 branches is have about the 20 and 30 branches, but these branches is no permanent branches, and so if we pruning this tree shape, maybe every year we remove the 1 or 2 big branches, and every year we remove the 1 or 2 big ones, and then we can continue maintaining young branches in this main trunk. So this tree shape is the vertical axis. The vertical axis is very popular in Japan. The vertical axis is the branches is also more shorter. So it's have also a strong trunk and have many smaller branches. This is for the only to bearing to produce many fruits. And this one is the wheat trellis. Wheat trellis is very popular in the Washington state in the United States. For this shape, because the trees is a grower, not very horticulture. So this trees maybe it's grown not so vigorous, and they also can get many light, and its light interpretation is very good. And for this one is the B-axis. B-axis, this tree shape from the Italy. Italy is also named as the bibam trees. Bibam trees. These trees, how do we get these trees? Maybe in the nursery we graft 2 buds on the different size, so we can produce these 2 trunk apple seedlings, and it's because they have 2 trunk, so maybe the tree weight is not so strong, and we can produce more fruit. And this one is the 3 leaders. 3 leaders tree sheep, and is also very similar the 2 leaders, but we use 3 leaders. So we separate the tree vigor to the different 3 track. So I think these trees maybe grow weaker. We can is vegetative growth is will weak. So I think maybe the fruit will so many fruits. We can get more and more fruits. And this one is the 4 leaders. Is also from the Italy. We can use 4 leaders to. But all these ships, all the fruit is like become a fruit war. This one is 10 liters from the New Zealand. New Zealand is because the New Zealand its land is very less, so we must like this row shape is very narrow. So maybe this row density is only 2 meters. So all the trees use this 10 liters tree. So this trees is decrease the tree size. This tree is only I think 2 meters. It's higher of the tree is only 2 meters. So all the workers we can the people can stand the land. It can okay, not need to depend some lander. So this one is the horizontal two dimensional training, and we use these branches and to bend the wire, the wireless, and all these branches is fixed the wire. And so it's fruit. It's become formate a fruit war. Is very popular. And this 3 trees is the pear. This is toss bindle. This one is the varieties, and this one is 2 track, 2 leaders. This pictures is 2 leaders pear tree. So it's very good, and its vigor, its tree vigor is not so strong. So this is the in the winter the pear trees 2 leaders. These pictures is Japanese varieties combined scaffold mode. For these trees is graft. All the trees is grafted together, like here, and here, all grafted together. So for these trees and the branches is fixed on this scaffold. I think I introduced so many tree shape only to like to see, and I think the tree shapes also from the 3-dimensional to the 2-dimensional because we become a fruit war. So we can use the warbird to picking the fruits. These 2 pictures is from the pear picking robot. This robot can move between the trees and use UGV and picking fruits with 2 robot arms. And the harvest fruit are collected into the automatic fruit storage system set as the UGV. When a container of the automatic fruit storage system becomes full, it is replaced by a empty container while the robot continue harvest. And this robot picks a fruit approximately at the 11 seconds, which is about the same speed as the people. So this fruit surrounded by a square showed a success in the detection. Double circles. These double circles in blue one, double circles, blue one, and the red show this one red is where the collects end of the fruits are located, and the detection system uses the color around the collects end to judge whether the fruit is ripe and ready to be harvested. The 4 pictures, camera 1 to camera 4, are taken similar by the 4 RGBD cameras and installed the harvest robot. The green numbers, these green numbers each pictures show the consecutive number of the detection by each camera. So this is the apple picking robot. Apple picking robot moves through the rows of apple trees with the laser technology, which uses the lasers to navigate and map an area. Use the machine vising the robot scan the trees and identify each apple, and the vacuum. This is the vacuum like arm, and then sucks the apple from trees, send the fruit to a conveyor belt and into a bin on the robot. A robot can pick at a rate of 1 apple per second. Then I think we must to research some labor-saving flower and fruit management and bagness cultivation, because for these years I think no people to like to bag the apple trees, so we must research some bagless cultivation. We must research on the flower bud induction, formation mechanism, and regulation technology. We must research and development labor-saving thinning technology, and the products and the equipment such chemical and mechanical thinning. For these pictures in Italy, we use the chemical thinner to thin in the apple fruit. This one is after the chemical thinning, so its fruit is very good. And this one is mechanical thinning. So in the European, we also use the mechanical thinning in the apple orchard. And so we also research some key technologies and the products development of fruit quality control under the bagless cultivation conditions. For these years, maybe I think after 5 or 10 years, maybe all the apple orchard know the bag. So the other one is I think we must to research some scientific prevention and control of pests and disease in the orchard. Also, we use the mechanization and the automation of the plant production. Maybe some new technologies and products research and development of major pest and disease forecast. Also research and development of a green, low-cost efficient physical and biological control products and technology. Also use occurrence prevention and control technology, product development of the invasive alien species and new pest disease. And then I think we must focus on the commercial processing and the broad market of the fruit. So the post-harvest commercial processing technology and equipment development with Chinese characteristics, and also promote the broad strategy, stressing regional and enhance the competitiveness and the cooperate brand. For these two pictures is the Yantai Apple brand. Yantai Apple brand its value is 13 billion yuan, and in the 2018, and also this one is the Shanxi brand, the regional brand. This one is the Kuele Xiangli brand. It is a very familiar brand in China. Maybe I think in the next years we must to focus on the fruit brand. So I think for a successful apple orchard, we must promote the transformation of the apple industry from the traditional production to the modern cultivation by the science and technology innovation. But it is not just a change to the dwarfing rootstock cultivation, and the connotation of the modern cultivation mode should be the low resources intensive. Maybe we can use less fertilizer, less pesticides, and less water, less land, and less labor, and also the higher mechanization level. I think we can use machinery instead of the human labor. And also we can research the sustainable and eco-friendly technology. We can guarantee existing orchard in the future. And the other one is high return on the capital and labor productivity. So I think for China, maybe our objective is the fruit industry become a promotion industry, and the fruit grower become a attractive occupation, and the fruit planting area become a very beautiful place to live and work. So I think in the future, the China's apple and pear industry will the industrial prosperity and the ecological livability. Okay, today I will talk about that's all. Thanks for your attention. Thank you very much.